off the board. But, with full due respect to Max, Vidit's preparation after 1e4 has been stellar for many, many years now. So Wei E, early sign he wants this in a more positional direction, although that's not really a conclusion that we can make from the move 1d4.
Yeah, they have not even seen a response from Vidit Gujrathi, who has been playing quite quickly. For those players who get in time trouble, you don't typically want to spend a couple minutes on your first turn, but we have seen a response. It looks like the queen's pawn of his own, so we do have d4 and d5 played on this all-important clash between the players who are tied for first place. So if there is a winner in this game, we are guaranteed someone hitting 8.5 points. We'll have to see about the other 3 boards, which include players with 7.5 entering the round. But Dunne, I am curious, for Wei Yi, how much risk do you take? Do you just play a slow, methodical game trying to outplay your opponent, or do you take the battle to him? These are the questions that swirl in the players' minds because they don't know what's happening on the other board. They don't know if Danchenko will play one of the best games of his life and stop Nadirbek Abdusattorov. They don't know if Max Vormadam will be able to recover and stop Anish Giri. So how do you approach a game like this with so much on the line?
Honestly, I think the best approach, and I've never been in a situation quite like this, but I think you almost ignore what's happening on the other boards. Now, the exception to that, as we see in the move e3 from Wei Yi, very quiet opening system. This is the Kali system, so quickly trying to take the game out of mainstream theoretical waters. But you just play what you were planning to play before the tournament. I think when you get too bogged down in what's happening on the other boards and you start trying to base your decisions as to what you think the evaluation is, that just clutters your mind, Robert. And in my experience observing these types of moments in previous tournaments, what actually happens is never what you think is going to happen. So you might as well just focus on playing the moves that you think are best. I mean, we had some crazy situations. I remember the 2013 candidates, for example, where was it Magnus Carlsen who thought that he had to win his game with the white pieces against Peter Svidler. He ended up losing with white in one of his first white losses in a long time, and then was
I don't say that ever, but Wei Yi has played another brilliant move going after the Black King, and it is game over, and at minimum, a first place tie for Wei Yi. Not the Chinese Grandmaster that many expected to be winning this tournament, but Wei Yi is somebody that you should not sleep on.
No, he's had an incredible tournament. He had maybe one or two disappointing games, but that was it. He had so many brilliant displays. His game against Jan Nepomniachtchi comes to mind, and so many wire-to-wire victories, Robert. How smooth was this game? I don't think he made a single mistake. This was a near-perfect game, if not a perfect game. And Vidit coming to terms with the fact that he just got crushed out of the opening. For newer players watching this, queen takes knight. That is not a blunder. The bishop slides back to f5 and pins the queen to the king and wins the queen. Black cannot take the knight. If Vidit wants to continue the game, he probably has to play rook f to a8, Robert, but that is... I would not be able to bring myself to make that move. The knight will slide back to e5, and White is just winning. White is going to win the queen. No, that's it. This is over.
This
is over.
Vidit Gujrathi has no hope in this position, and it's a shame. He won 2 games in a row on demand. He beat Parham Maksudlu with black. He beat Nodirbek Abdusattorov. That opened the race for some of these other players. But Wei Yi has also sprinted to the finish line. This will be his 3rd consecutive win, I believe. So for Wei Yi, he defeated Max Vormadam and Ju Wenjun. He's going to add Vidit Gujrathi to his list of victims. He also took down Jan Nepomniachtchi and Parham Maksudlu, as well as Danchenko. So what a performance from Wei Yi. He has won so many games, and he is going to end minimum in a first-place tie. Whether there's a playoff is up to some of the other players.
And among other players, it's up to Anish Giri and Vidit Gujrathi coming to terms here with the fact that his tournament is not going to end the way that he had intended. This will be his first loss of the event as he cups his head in his hands. It will be the first loss of his event. This will leave Prague as the only player who will have gone the entire tournament without a loss. He is not risking against Alireza Firouzja, but that is not a game with bearing on the top spot. But for Vidit Gujrathi, still a great tournament, still a very significant rating gain, and still his head to be held up high, but he will be disappointed. That is a brutal pairing, honestly, Robert, to face Wei Yi with a black pieces in the final round. He must have been looking with envy at Anish Giri, Nodirbek, who had more manageable pairings, but to have black against an on-form Wei Yi, that was a tall order. And a tired Vidit is going to go down.
As we saw in the Isle of Man in the Grand Swiss, losing in round 1, it's often better than losing in the last round. And that was a Swiss compared to a round robin. Yes, we see the comments coming in, feeling sad for Vidit. Mm-hmm. If he finished the tournament with 7.5 points, if you told him that at the start, he would be very happy to collect the rating points with a superb event. But losing in the last round with first place on the line, it's going to sting for sure. But you have to give the credit to Wei Yi. Wei Yi played an amazing game. When someone plays perfect chess against you, there's really nothing that you can do. And Wei Yi was one of the biggest prodigies of all time. So don't think that this came out of nowhere. Wei Yi has been around. He's a superstar. And if you look at how this game has gone, it was even, and suddenly it wasn't. The center was blown open, and Wei Yi's rook joined the party. A pawn was dropped in the middle of the board, and Wei Yi has played uncorked a couple brilliant moves along the way. So all exclamation points for Wei Yi, question marks for Vidit, and that, unfortunately for him, did him in.
It did him in, indeed, and Vidit, again, we congratulate him on an incredible performance. It wasn't like he made a bunch of big blunders. He made a series of smaller mistakes in the opening with that Kali system. It didn't look like he was aiming for anything special in the opening, but that's exactly what lulled Vidit into a false sense of security. He made one sloppy move in the opening, allowed Wei Yi to drive that pawn up to e4, and after that, it was all over. Rook a8, and I think knight e5 check is the easiest way to win. It's already on the board, and the handshake is coming now. Okay, time for Vidit to resign. He keeps going, but queen c7 check, and it's over.
Queen c7 check, the king goes to the corner, and there's a knight fork winning the queen. Vidit extends his hand. There is resignation. We have a clear leader in the Tata Steel Chess Tournament. Wei Yi wins against Vidit Gujrathi. The white pieces were to his benefit. 8.5 out of 13. So now players can catch up to him. But Wei knows he finishes this tournament in first place. Now we will be sent to a playoff if others can catch him. But in the classical portion, a first place finish, one to remember for Wei.
Incredible. What a performance and what a clutch win in the final round. Great preparation all around by the players who were contesting first place.